do it, and then
And then we talk. Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
You'll tell me.
Yeah. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we live projects.
So, good morning and welcome to Inside SA Soccer with me, Brad Jakes. It's a Thursday morning, and we're just going to look back at the midweek matches. There's been plenty of action. Everybody has played their matches. Two matches in, and the league table is not what many would have expected. There's no Orlando Pirates on top. There's no Mamelodi Sundowns on top, because those two giants of South African football have not had the kind of start that a lot of us expected. The talk as the season went in was Mamelodi Sundowns are going for a ninth title, but everybody believed Orlando Pirates will stop them from winning that. But Mdu, who is my colleague here at Omni Audio, is a huge Pirates fan, and he's one of those who are crying because the Buccaneers have had a wretched start to the season. Two matches played, no points, two matches lost. Mdu, is there something you thought? I'm sure most of you are even beginning to think we should have hired Rulani Mukwena.
Ish. Yeah, no, projects. I'm not happy as an Orlando Pirates fan. I'm not happy generally as a football fan, actually, because this means that Mamelodi Sundowns are going to take it easy. And we all hoped that there was going to be one team that were going to challenge them for the trophy, but the one team that we depended on, Orlando Pirates, are dropping points. But it's still early, projects. Two games, Nyana, it's still early.
Yeah, look, I know, I totally agree that it's still very early to even think um, Pirates will not win, but the thing with football is it's how you start often influences the way you'll do. It builds confidence. I think for me, looking at Pirates, I mean, let's look back. They opened their league match, their first game they play against Sikukune United at home, packed stadium at Orlando Stadium. They go into that match fresh from having won the MTN 8 against Polokwane City, and everybody expects them to win. But then they lose 1-0. Now that's, you know, people might say, oh, let's forgive them, it's a slip. Yes. And then you go to Marumo Gallants. Now, Marumo Gallants are not a big club. Marumo Gallants are a team that Coach Abdeslam Owadu coached before, and everybody thinks, oh, he knows them. It should be a walkover. And Pirates were all over. They dominated the match. They looked like they would do well. They scored first, actually, and then Marumo equalized. And then late I mean, I remember I looked at the time, it was 90 plus one. And then they concede a goal. And that then puts you under pressure. I mean, I'm already seeing people complaining that why did he change? Why did he not play Relebohile Mofokeng? But when a club has signed as many players as Pirates have, the coach is bound to want to try everybody else. He's spoken, I mean, I was at the press conference actually when he spoke prior to that match about how I'm going to have to do rotation because we have a lot of players, but also we are going to have a lot of competitions. Remember, Pirates are going to play in all domestic competitions. They have the CAF Champions League that they are going to play in. So he wants to try out so that he knows that everybody is at the same level, so that when somebody is not available, you bring in this one. But it seems like it has backfired, and the loss to Marumo Gallants has suddenly found, it's got people uneasy. A lot of Pirates fans like yourself are beginning to think, is he the right man? But personally, I think it's too early to start saying he's not the right man. He's not. I think what is going to be key for Pirates in particular is this coming weekend. We're playing against Mamelodi Sundowns in the MTN 8 semi-final, defending champions as Pirates are. 3 times they've won this competition. They are going to have to make a big statement, and particularly for Coach Abdeslam Owadu, he has to make sure that Pirates get a good result that will say those two losses in the league were just many bumps on what is going to be a smooth road. I don't know if you see it that way.
Projects, I think it's early in the season to determine whether this guy should stay or he should leave. But also, I said yesterday when we had a conversation on this platform that I think his biggest mistake is that he's making wrong tactical decisions. Why fix it if it's not broken? Enhance it. I still believe that he didn't spend enough time watching Orlando Pirates play last season, because if he had spent enough time watching Orlando Pirates play, he would have known where they were lacking and where to improve and what to change. But here he comes, he changes the entire squad. He has no reason for not playing Dino van Rooyen. Other than Kulisa Mudau, Dino van Rooyen is the best right back or full back that we have in this country. He has no reason for not starting Relebohile Mofokeng. Relebohile Mofokeng is one of the best players in this country, and we've seen and know what he's done for Orlando Pirates. Instead of benching Mofokeng, I would have rather he benched Ozwen Apollos, and then Apollos comes on as a sub. He still has no reason for playing Moremi as a starter. He has no reason for keeping Tito Maswanganyi, because he sees that Tito Maswanganyi is off form and Tito Maswanganyi is not performing his best. Yes, one would argue that he scored a goal, but any player in the right position can score a goal. Even Mbogazi would have scored if he was in the same position as Tito Maswanganyi. So I think a lot of supporters are not complaining about him as a coach, but we are questioning his tactical decisions. Now he's shown every other team in the Betway Premiership, including our biggest rival at this point, Mamelodi Sundowns, how vulnerable we are. Now Mamelodi Sundowns know where to attack Pirates and where Pirates is lacking, and that wasn't necessarily the case with Jose Rivero. So I think he needs to sit down with the technical team and everyone that helped in terms of guiding him and tell him that, look, just play the team that ended number 2. Make a few changes. You don't need to implement the changes effective immediately.
Yeah, look, I suppose so, but remember, this coaches are their own people, hey? As much as a guy comes in, finds, the wheel turning, the players having done something, they all have their own players. He goes to the training sessions, he sees the players. One of the sad things I find about football now, as compared to when I used to cover it when I was a younger journalist, we have no access to the training sessions. So we are, we are not privy to what happens and what leads to a coach choosing the starting lineup that he does. Because in the past, we used to go to training sessions. I mean, I could go to a training session 3 days a week and watch and be able to say, oh, no wonder this guy is not playing, because during training, this is what was happening. So I think that is that. And I get you when you say, why fix what's not broken? But the thing also is the club has gone on and bought all these many players. And too often that's a challenge when a club has done as well as Pirates did last season, goes into the market and just brings in all these big name players who, a coach sometimes is like, we've bought this guy for so much. Why do you put Mbule on the bench? Why? I saw what he's, I mean, with Relay, he explained that, it's not that Relay is not good or something. It's about rotation. He's feeling we are going to have a very long season. Let me try this once out. I know what Relay can do, so I am content when I bring him in, he'll do this. But for this, and I think what happened particularly, I think with Marumo, they are not going to admit it, but I think also underestimating the opposition. You look at the opposition and feel, these guys we can beat. Therefore, let's do tests. Let's try this one. Let's try this one instead of going with your strongest team into that match. And I think now the challenge with what is happening with Pirates having lost their first 2 matches, what you guys as Pirates fans are probably, that what adds to your unhappiness is the fact that your big enemies are doing very well. Kaizer Chiefs have won 2 matches on the trot, somewhere there, top of the table, with 3 other clubs who are on 6 points. And I know if you're a Pirates fan, that cannot be nice. Kaizer Chiefs were the laughing stock last season. Of course, they beat you guys in the cup final, but they've started well. A win at Stellis. They come home, they beat Polokwane City, a Polokwane City that cost them a top 8, if you remember last season, by holding them to a draw, and therefore Chiefs did not make the top 8. So that is another dynamic. And I look at it and I'm thinking, Kaizer Chiefs are winning without Nazarudin Nabi. Is that not a hint to the hierarchy at Kaizer Chiefs to say, perhaps maybe we don't need this guy. Let him stay in Tunisia. Let's allow Ben Yusuf Khalil to lead us. I don't know, but I think it's good for Kaizer Chiefs to have had the kind of start that they've had. A lot of people are going to look at it and say, look, you beat Stellenbosch. You always beat Stellenbosch. You can be at your worst. Kaizer Chiefs always do well against Stellenbosch. Polokwane City, it's there and thereabouts, but they're not the kind of team that you'd expect them to beat Chiefs. They've done it in the past, but I think it's a good start. It's a confident booster for Chiefs. They'll start believing that they can compete for whatever honors, championship, but they'll start believing they are going to do much better than they did in the previous season, and that's good for them. They've started well. They'll be very competitive. They are not playing this weekend because they are not in the MTN 8 league, and this will give them another chance for the technical team to beef up. To you say to the players, well done on this. Now let's build on. So yeah, I'm thinking it's a good thing that Chiefs have started the way that they have.
Projects, a good performing Kaiser Chiefs is always good for our league. A good performing
And
Kaiser
what
Chiefs.
about Chiefs?
A good performing Kaiser Chiefs is always good for our league, because then it means
Yeah,
more
look,
ticket sales, more people get to watch. I mean, even in other parts of the African continent, people then start watching more of our league, which is good for us. However, I don't think they're strong. I still don't see them making it to the top 8 this season. Yes, they've played well the past 2 games. They beat Stellenbosch, a team that they beat back-to-back last season. And then last night they played against the Polokwane City, a team that they haven't beaten the past 4 matches that they played. Polokwane City had won the last 4 matches that they played against Kaiser Chiefs. And then yesterday they came back and said, look, we're here. But if you watched the game, they're still lacking up front. Their defense is still not solid. They have good fullbacks, which Orlando Pirates donated to them. They have Ndlovu, who is also a good player, but I think he's still trying to find his feet at the team. And Lena, he hasn't really fit into the structure. He came on as a sub and won them the game, but I still think that they're not strong. And I worry because they're going to be playing in the CAF Confederations Cup, which is more competitive, which means that it's more games for Kaiser Chiefs, and they don't have a big squad to handle all of that pressure. Yes, they're going to rest this weekend. It's good for them. They're going to come back stronger next week when they come back to the Betway Premiership, but I still think this is how they started last season. Let us not be excited just as yet.
yeah, look, I mean, I get you, but you can't tell Chiefs fans not to be excited. This kind of things doesn't happen. In the past few seasons, Chiefs have not won matches on the trot. Now to win two, it's exciting. Let them have it. Let them get excited. And I don't know. I think they will get into the top 8. I think Chiefs are going to be much better. They yes, the squad that they signed is not the strongest of squads, and I tend to agree with you that the participation in continental football is going to, be a big test for them. Are we going to see them being able to go, say, Tanzania, come back and then play, compete? The depth of the squad is, they might have a big squad in terms of numbers, but in terms of the quality, yeah, I think it's not the kind of quality that can compete on all fronts. But I think domestically, I foresee them doing well. I think when you look at the rest of the other clubs, I mean, I look at it, you have a Sekhukhune United, who I think are going to be very impressive, because you've got Pirates and Sundowns who will challenge each other for the title. Stellenbosch FC, they didn't really sign. They keep losing top players, and they don't replace them with like for like. I watched them. I was at their match against Magezi last night. They looked okay, but I mean they still lacking. Coach Steve Barker did say that there's another player that they've signed who still waiting a work permit. The new ones, the guy from Europe. Europeans, will usually when they come here, it takes a while for them to settle in, but he believes they'll settle. When I spoke to him, it sounded like they are very focused on doing well on the continent. They reached the semis last season, remember? So they will want to maybe do one better and go into the final. I mean, the fact that they've got a bye in the preliminary rounds that are coming talks to just how well CAF rates them in terms of how they did last season. So you'll have your Stellies, your Pirates, Sundowns, Sekhukhune, I think, going there top 4. And then I think the rest of the other 4, it's anybody's game. And that's why I think Kaiser Chiefs have the potential to get into the top 8. I wouldn't see them going top 4, but I think they will make the top 8 this season. And then, I mean, look, the Sundowns. A lot of us were shocked to see Sundowns not winning at Chippa United. They played a draw in their opening match against Chippa United, and a lot of people were talking about the fact that Badela, who is the coach at Chippa, has worked at Sundowns, has worked with Rulani Mukwena previously, and he knows them. But when you look at that match, I mean, it was a goal that Chippa scored, a deflected goal. Sundowns had a lot of chances. they should have taken. I think the challenge at Sundowns currently is this whole issue of the uncertainties. Ribeiro is not there. Is he leaving? At least now with Shalulile, he played. It shows that he's not going to leave. Fodiso Modau's absence is going to be a big problem for Sundowns. It looks like he really wants out. Whether he will leave, whether the club will let him go, it's another thing. But you could even tell when Coach Cardoso was speaking that this whole uncertainty with his squad, who's staying, who is not, is something that worries him. And I think it makes sense. You'll remember with Ribeiro last time, Ribeiro, the former Pirates coach, when Saleng, there was all those issues. As a coach, you want to know, I can pick these players. These are my players. This one is available, this one is not. And once you have that stability, you then know how to start planning. And I think that's what Cardoso is hoping happens. You could hear when he speaks, while he protects the club to say, we are professional, we'll do things the right way, you sense some frustration on his behalf about just why is it that we just, finish this thing. Modau is no longer with us. Then I start looking, who do I play at right back? The other day, he played, what's his name, Fawaz Basadin, that side in their first match. So in that MTN made 8 match. So I think Sundowns remain the favorite still to win the league. They did very well. I watched their match where they playing Amazulu. They beat Amazulu 2-0. It could have been a bit more, but you saw the Sundowns that is able to dominate play, a Sundowns that can create chances. They missed a few, but the fact that they do. Arthur Sales, Cardoso spoke about Arthur Sales after the match. Arthur Sales was, he played a part in the 2 goals which were scored by Ikram Reyners and Tashreeq Matthews. And he's saying people should not expect this boy to be a replacement for Ribeiro, which for me talked to the fact that he's resigned to losing the Brazilian. Arthur Sales is a much younger player, not as good as Ribeiro, but he believes he's going to be the guy who gets them the goals, who creates the goals. And Ikram Reyners has shown he's still going to score. Peter Shalulile, I think once he scores that record equaling goal, he'll be loosened up, and we will get to see a bit of Peter Shalulile that we know. Yes, age is catching up, but I think he's still going to be very influential. So when I look at it, I think Sundowns will win the 9th title again. Yes, they are not, they didn't win their first match, but I think they still remain the strongest of all the teams in the league. And Pirates stuttering the way they do, they need to get moving. They need to get that confidence. 1 win. And if they do it against Sundowns this weekend, even if, look, it's the first leg, anything can still happen in the second leg. But if they win this one, then you are going to have this Pirates that now can start believing it, that they can beat anybody. And I think the next teams that they will be playing in the league, you'll see Pirates suddenly picking up the maximum points.
Project, sticking with Sundowns for a moment, I think Sundowns have been exposed. Let me just say domestically, of course, they're going to do well. No one is going to challenge them domestically, even with the absence of Kuriso Modau, Lucas Ribeiro. They still have Tapelo Morena, who can still play in that position. They still have a Tembazwan, who, yes, ever since his injury, there's been a dip in his performance, but he can still obviously come back and help them. They win. My major concern about them is when they have to go play in Africa, in the CAF Champions League. That's where they need a player like a Ribeiro the most. That's where they need the experience of a Kuriso Modau the most. And that's where they need Peter Shalulile at his best. Because domestically, they have Ikram Reyners. He can do everything for them. They have Arthur Sales who can do everything for them. But my main concern about them is going into Africa, So that's where I think they've been exposed. And remember, Mamelodi Sundowns is considered the best team in South African football. So
let's see how it goes.
Oh, sorry, Regex. When these teams from Africa see Mamelodi Sundowns play, they're watching them. They're like, okay, they've lost their talisman. So it means that these guys have been exposed. And one of their star players, in Mshishi, is a bit old now, and there's been a dip in his performance. So it means that this is how we attack them. This is where they're lacking now. They don't have that creativity anymore. But domestically, they still want to dominate.
Yeah, look, I think, and you're right. Look, football. Remember, football is cyclical. Hey, Sundowns have had this dominance, And yeah, the club is changing, yes, you say. The key players who've been doing very well for Sundowns are slowly but surely getting older. You mentioned Mshishi, now they've lost Ribeiro. So yes, that's going to happen where Sundowns struggle a bit. But they are building. Look at the new kids that they are bringing, your Tashriks, your Kutlwano, Letlaku. The it's almost a handing over of the baton, and it's up to these young ones who are coming. And the good thing about it is a lot of them have those, your Shaluliles, your Mshishis were the key players for Sundown. So yeah, look, I think they will struggle a bit, but I still believe Sundowns will always make the quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League. Even this year, I think they will. I was just looking at they have a bye along with Al Ahly, so they will not be playing in the preliminary, but they'll definitely make the group stages. And once in the group stages, it's all about experience. Sundowns have that experience. They know how to grind out results. You saw them last season. They will do that. They'll get into the knockout stages. So win it, yeah. Look, winning the Champions League is they missed the most golden opportunity to win the Champions League last time around when they lost to Pyramids. And whether they'll get that kind of chance yet again, I don't know. It's going to be very tough because, you have your North African teams will again remain strong, the strongest of them all. Al Ahly, I'm not sure. We saw Ribeiro didn't win his opening match with Al Ahly, and already, the Egyptian media don't play already on top of him. Is he going to last the whole season? We don't know. We'll see. But yeah, you always have Al Ahly as one of those. Your Esperance are going to be there as potential contenders for the title. RS Berkane have moved into the Champions League. They've always dominated the CAF Confederation Cup. They are now in the Champions League. So competition is going to be very tight. Orlando Pirates want to win it as well. It's going to be very hard. And sometimes I think if I were a Pirates, for example, yes, you want to win the domestic league, but based on what they did last season in the Champions League, I would say let's make it a priority. Let's focus more on the Champions League. Make sure if we don't win at home, let's make sure we are number 2 so that we go into the Champions League again. But I think Pirates, in terms of the squad depth and all, they have what it takes to can push and perhaps do better than last season and get into the Champions League final.
I think, of course, Pirates right now are in a rebuilding phase, Rajakes. I don't see them doing well at the CAF Champions League. They are in a rebuilding phase. This new coach in Owadu, he's trying to make a name for himself, and he's trying to change things and do things his way. So, which means that now we are back to square one in a rebuilding phase, because clearly he doesn't want to inherit the team that finished at the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League, finished number 2 in the league, and now he wants to start his own team and introduce his new players, and also switch around players and move them around, which means that players then need to learn how to readjust, readapt, play again with each other, understand each other. They still need to build relationships with each other. So I don't see Orlando Pirates doing well in the CAF Champions League. I also don't see Mamelodi Sundowns doing well in the CAF Champions League. I say this simply because when Miguel Cardoso came in last season, he had inherited a good team from Rulani Mukwenya and Mangoba Mngiti. So he had a solid team to go compete in Africa. And if that team had won the CAF Champions League, I'd still say it was Rulani Mukwena and Mangoba Mngiti who had won it. But here he comes. This is his first season for me because he starts with the team. And I'm glad that he's losing the key players. I'm glad that he's losing a Lucas Ribeiro. And I hope he does lose Kuriso Mutau as well, so he can show us what he has as a coach and what he can do, because he didn't do well for me when he came on. He was obviously going to win the league. It's obvious. Anyone can coach Mamelodi Sundowns with the squad they have and win the league. So I don't think he's a good coach. I don't see him taking Mamelodi Sundowns any far. I think they're not going to go any far in the CAF Champions League, but they are going to win the league at home.
Yeah, look, I mean, as they say, football is a game of opinions. And yeah, look, let's see how it goes. Hey, I just think, a Sundowns, a Pirates experience is there. The coaches, coaches sometimes, I think we sometimes overrate the role of the coaches. Sometimes I think players can also make things happen themselves. I think if yes, let's look at Pirates, for example. Yes, Owadu has come in, he's going to, it's like dismantle what Rivero built and start from scratch. Yeah, he'll use those other players, but it's up to the players. It's and particularly at Pirates. I mean, there's an induction that gets done there, and the chairman always talks to these guys and explains to them the history of the club, and say you want to leave a legacy, and everybody wants that because look at Edward Mutale, for example. Majens is relevant to this day. This is a guy who last played before some of you were born. He won the CAF Champions Cup way back in 1995. But to this day, he still remains very relevant. Now, why would any player not want something like that? And sometimes I always say, we sit as a group of players and say, look, yeah, this coach is saying this, but guys, it's not working. Let's make it happen for themselves and for ourselves. And I think that should be the attitude of every team, every player to say, yes, the coach is there, but it's also about us. He's here to guide. Let's go there and do what we need to do. And I think Pirates and Sundowns showed last year that the CAF Champions League is attainable. When you reach the semi-final, Pirates are going to kick themselves for years, actually. When you remember that they went to Pyramid, you don't go away to a team in the second leg of or even it was the second leg, and you score 2 goals away from home and you still lose a match. I mean, that just talks to naivety for them to the way they considered the goals that they did. And I think hopefully they've learned from that and the current guys who are coming. So yes, you are right in a way to say the challenge is now starting anew because a lot of these new guys who are coming have not done continental football. So, they wouldn't know. But you learn from those who are there. So if you are Owadu, then you make sure that your spine is the team that was playing last year. It's the team that got to the semifinals, that finished runners up, that won the MTN 8, and then you mix with the new ones. Yeah, to change completely. Although we can't really say he's changed completely because he's still playing. Your Chinese are there and the other guys are still there. So yeah, listen, I just think we are going to have a fascinating season. We are in for an exciting season. It's going to be very difficult to call, but for us as football fans, for us as football media, this is what we want. You don't want a therefore, those kind of leagues where by match number 15, you already know that Sundowns are going to win. Or no, you don't want that. You want it to be as exciting as it seems it's going to be now when it started. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited, particularly this weekend. It's a big one. Pirates and Sundowns, semi-final, first leg of the MTN 8. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting one. And as I said previously, it's not easy playing a wounded team in a cup match. Orlando Pirates have lost 2 of their games. So they have, they are going to go all out just to please their supporters and to show the whole country that, look, we are still that Orlando Pirates, nothing's changed, and we can still compete for the league. So I think Mamelodi Sundowns is in trouble because they're playing against a wounded team, and this wounded team now know what to avoid. Because the past 2 games were actually a reflection of what could happen if they don't improve defensively and offensively, especially in striking. So now the coach knows what to avoid, I'd like to believe, and the players also know what to avoid. And for me, if you were to ask me my prediction, I'd say 2-1 in favor of Orlando Pirates. Yeah, I think it's going to
Who
be an
want to
exciting
who?
one. 2-1 in favor of Orlando Pirates.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended in a draw. But look, it would be nice if there's a winner. But I think a 2-1 result, Sundowns would not mind that because then it means you've got the away goal. All you need to do is second leg, you score at home, and then you are into the final. So yeah, we are in for an exciting game.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, Thank you so much for having me, Prachix.
Sure, Mdu. No, thanks so much. Yeah, let's meet again. This is Inside SA Soccer with Bra Jakes, discussing local football with Mdu, a big Pirates fan. Big Pirates fan.